Programming is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City designed to inspire natural and relaxed living with a dash of southern charm. The Sweet Bay community features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and much more. It's got all the makings of a friendly neighborhood with everything you need, just a short walk away. For more information about the Sweet Bay community, call 844-35-SWEET or go online to sweetbayfl.com.
This is Coach's Corner.
Welcome, Commodore fans, to Coach's Corner, a production of Gulf Coast State College and the digital media program here. I want to thank the folks at Sweet Bay for sponsoring Coach's Corner. We're going to talk to Coach Jay Powell about the Commodores and how they've done over the Christmas break and their Panhandle Conference opener on Saturday and what's coming up this week. Commodores right now 14-4 overall, 0-1 in the Panhandle Conference, ranked number 9 in the state coaches poll. So, Coach, you had a tournament here. We played Coastal Alabama back on the 29th. Commodores won 74-69. Won the first half 39-33. They won the second half 36-35. And you're going to have to stretch your memory banks to go back and let's talk a little bit about that game.
Coastal Alabama North has a good team. Been very impressed with the way that Coach Brown has kind of developed that program over the last couple of years. It took us double overtime to defeat them last year. Then this year it was a hard-fought, close game. They split with Pensacola in the regular season until the Gordon State game. They had played Northwest Florida State closer than anybody else this season. So they have a good team and they compete at a high level. So they came down that first game after Christmas, which is always tough when we're in that situation. And, we would love to think that the men were going to train and jog and run sprints to stay in shape and lift weights and get in the gym. It happens some, but not as often as we would like as coaches when guys are home for those 10 or 11 days. So we came back and we competed and we battled, and I was very pleased with the level of toughness and aggressiveness we played with against Coastal Alabama North. And as you mentioned, we were able to win the first half, win the second half, and have just a good win coming right out of the break against Coastal Alabama North.
And if we look at that, Will Robertson with 28, McGregor with 13, and Smith with 14. Those were your leading scorers. But you kind of expect that out of Will being a sophomore.
In both of those games, Will showed that he was taking the steps that he needed to take in order to be right on point for conference play to start. And so against Gordon State the next day, which we'll get to, and in that game against Coastal Alabama North, Will did play aggressively and do well on both ends of the court.
So then if we move on, as you talked about, Gordon State Commodores were victorious 80-72, 39-31 the first half, and played to a tie in the second half, 41-41. So, but the Commodores picked up another win playing the night before and then turn around and have to play 24 hours after being off for 10 or 11 days and still pick up a victory.
Yes, the 8-point win against Gordon State, I was pleased with that. Northwest Florida State defeated them by 8 points the day before. Gordon State, in my opinion and in the opinion of several others, have the best shot to win the state of Georgia and go to the national tournament. There are other good teams there, but they probably are the most likely to win it at this point. And so those are good wins for us to go to Gordon State and win early in the season. Then when they came down here and to win the other day, that was a good win for us too. Will Robinson played very hard and played well on both ends of the court, and he seemed to be raising his level on the defensive end of intensity and focus and effort. And other men played well also. So really after that game, I was pleased. I complimented the guys, reminded them that Panhandle Conference play is a different beast. We need to up our level one more time in order to be ready for the Tallahassee game that we had a week to prepare for. And when we left the gym that Saturday after the Gordon State game, we were in a good spot. The men had played very hard for 2 games, and we had been successful in both of them. And so then we go into the week of preparation for Tallahassee.
So, and we played Gordon State back on November 11th up at their place and won that game 75-72. So against a quality team. So those are 2 good wins. Let's talk, before we move on to Tallahassee, the kids go home for Christmas break. And let's talk a little bit and share with the Commodore fans. We play those games and then they go home for Christmas break and how all that fits in and plays in. And you talked briefly a little bit about, well, when they go home, they should run and lift and shoot, and they may or may not do those things. So,
right. We try to give them advice and give them an idea of the things they need to be doing. You know, these are grown men. They know what they need to be doing when they have 10 or 11 days off. But once a man gets home after being here for 4 or 5 months and finishing final exams, which I will touch on here in a second, but you know, they get home, they start seeing family, they start seeing old friends, and I think they kind of get distracted, and this happens to several of us, or most of us probably, if we get a day off here or there. All of a sudden the day's over with, and oh, I meant to do this or I meant to do that. You know, just because they're college basketball players doesn't mean they're any different than anyone else in that reality. So they probably don't get in the gym as much as we would like for them to. But to be honest, probably not in the gym as much as they would like to as they were going into it, or when they were, you know, flying back or driving back into town, or for Josh that's here, you know, wow, you know, that went by really fast and I didn't get in the gym but a few times, and it could have been every day. So that's part of it, but the guys need that time, and they need an opportunity to get a hug from their mother or their grandmother and to eat some home cooking. That's good for young men, and so for several of them, this is their first time away from home, and so that opportunity to go and refresh is important, and it's valuable. We mentioned final exams. The men did very well academically. They worked hard. Everybody, as far as eligibility is concerned, no one was, you know, close to not being eligible for the spring term. And then I believe our overall team GPA was a 3.09, and I'm proud of that at Gulf Coast State College, because we're not an institution that believes that athletes should just have grades handed to them, and the men have to do their work. They must be in class, or they get punished by me if they are not in class and in class on time. And so they're held to the same standards as all the other students, and that's a great thing about Gulf Coast State College as an institution, is that we're here for the betterment of the young men and the young women that are here, whether it be athletics or a non-athlete, is that they're going to receive a great education if they earn it. And so that's a great thing, and that's a great GPA that we had. We did have Daniel Kiley. It's public knowledge. These things are released. He made the president's list. He had a perfect 4.0 GPA, being a full-time student. And so it's great for us to congratulate Daniel Kiley on that, because he's only the second men's basketball player I've had, this being 11 years, and so 21 different semesters of making the president's list, the other one being Marquez Gilstrap, who longtime Commodore fans will remember. Not only was he on the president's list, but he was also an All-American on the basketball court. He was very, very talented and very good.
So now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about the Tallahassee game. Both teams open panel conference play. You know, Tallahassee came in 14-3 overall. Same place the Commodores were sitting. They're ranked. They're a good team. And we came in and played the opener. Everybody knows you got 12 games to get to that state tournament. So one game doesn't make or break you. And they outscored us the first half 40-31, second half 51-42 for a 91-73 victory there. So thoughts on the game?
Well, my thoughts on the game, I've only finished watching in detailed format. We've watched clips of the second half, but the first half just in continuous play with a few breaks. And this this time through, I'm jotting down the soft plays. And I know that potentially I should just lie and act like all's good in Commodore land, but it's not. We did not play as determined a level of basketball as we needed to play. That doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that our players are bad players. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It doesn't mean that I'm a bad coach. It doesn't mean that pregame meal wasn't good. It doesn't mean our uniforms aren't nice, anything like that. But we did not play with the intensity and the fire in our belly that we should have played with. With that being said, we had 22 what I call soft mistakes. And there are hard-nosed mistakes which are acceptable. You dove on the floor for a loose ball and you accidentally rolled into someone's leg and got a foul call. Well, we don't want that foul, but hey, that was a hard-nosed mistake. Then there are soft mistakes where we miss blockouts or someone dribbles to the rim past us and is able to get a layup. We don't have secondary rotation, things of that nature. And so we had all of those soft mistakes in the first half. Well, with 8 minutes to go in the first half, we were still right with them. I think it was 14-13. And so that was encouraging, even with the poor play that we had. And then, we go in down 9 at half, and we remind the guys, hey, we haven't played as well. Let's raise our level of play. I'm very clear. We're not going to compare basketball to life and death. We're not going to do that. Sports should not be looked at in reality in that manner. However, I told the guys, but guys, let's play this last 20 minutes like our life depends on it. And let's play hard and let's compete and let's get after it. And we went out on the court and maybe for the first 10 minutes they built a lead. Then we brought it back to 9, I believe, in the second half. And then the last 8 to 10 minutes, almost unopposed, they were able to just drive to the basket and we could not stay with them, keep them in front. And the tough thing for a fan is that, well, then all of a sudden their big guys are the ones scoring, but if our big guys don't help over on the penetration, when they just dribble past one of our perimeter defenders, then they're going to shoot a layup, the guard is. So it's better for our big guy to step over and at least make them have to pass it, catch it, and then make that layup, as opposed to just dribbling in and shooting a layup uncontested. And so at that point, their bigs got a few buckets because our secondary rotation wasn't as tough and good as it should be. And then once we kind of got that corrected, well, then that leaves the kick out for the open three-pointer, and they made a couple of those. Now this goes on me. I've got to get guys tougher. I'm guilty a little bit this year. We're 14-4. The record is good. That's a good record. We're 0-1 in conference. That's not good. But I'm probably a little guilty this year of being a little too altruistic with my coaching methodology. The ideal is for men to just play as hard as they can and to be as tough as they can every single play of every single day. And all of my coaches, probably to a fault, that's how I was. And I think that most people that watch this show or come to our games, that's probably how they were reared and how they played sports. They played as hard as they could and aggressively as they could. And when the going got tough, and when the going got tough against San Jack and Central Florida earlier in the season, we have not upped our level of toughness to compete and fight because I've probably done more of a let's do this, let's go, as opposed to taking the approach of this must be done and it must be done right now. There's no guarantee that that approach will work, but there is a guarantee that the methodology of, man, let's do it for ourselves and do the best we can, that part's not going to work. So I'm excited about this week, though. I think that we can get it together. I think that we can compete with Northwest Florida. Then we get to come home against Pensacola. I'm excited about that. I think the men will be much more prepared, and that we will have a good week of basketball overall. Win or lose, I'll see. We'll see where that goes. But I'm excited about coaching in a hard-nosed manner and our guys stepping up and playing really good hard-nosed basketball.
You heard it from Coach Jay Powell. Men will be on the road Wednesday night at Northwest Florida and at home Saturday night against Pensacola State College. And we'll be right back, Commodore fans, with Coach Scovel and see how the Lady Commodores did on the Commodore Sports Network.
Programming is sponsored by Sweet Bay. Sweet Bay is a bayfront village in Panama City designed to inspire natural and relaxed living with a dash of Southern charm. The Sweet Bay community features parks, walking trails to the water, a future town center, and much more. It's got all the makings of a friendly neighborhood with everything you need, just a short walk away. For more information about the Sweet Bay community, call 844-35-SWEET or go online to sweetbayfl.com.
Welcome back, Commodore fans. Coach Scovel and I are going to talk about how the Lady Commodores played over the holidays, and then we'll talk about our Panhandle Conference opener, and then 2 big games we have this week. So, Lady Commodores right now 13-1 overall, 1-0 in the Panhandle Conference, ranked number 1 in the state coaches poll, ranked number 1 in the NJCAA national poll. Both of those polls will come out tomorrow. We record on Monday. We'll get new polls and we'll go from there. But we will talk about some games we played. And briefly before, let's share with the Commodore fans, the team goes home for a little bit and how that plays into coming back and playing those games afterwards.
Well, when we broke, we had some great games here at Gulf Coast, and we even said, gosh, we're kind of getting a little momentum going here. This break is not the most wonderful thing for us, but, we all need that time off and the holidays. But we were beginning to kind of get a little momentum before the holidays. We had some good games and played a great game against Bosher Parish, and our shooters shot the ball well. So we said, well, when we come back, we're going to have to kind of rebuild a little bit. And, we went on the road and took on 2 extremely tough opponents in Shelton State, and South Georgia Tech was the home team. And, we just we couldn't get anything right against Shelton. And I did a poor job of getting us prepared. And we had about 48 hours to jumble our lineup. We didn't have a full lineup at the game, and so I just didn't do a very good job of getting us ready. And we took a hit. We just shot the ball horribly. We just couldn't do anything right offensively. And the good thing is we played the number 2 team in the country at the time, and we played horrible, and we only lost by 6 or 7, and so that made me feel good that moving into the new year, hopefully we could get that back. And when we bounced back from that game really well, we were concerned about how we would respond to that loss on the next night, and we played really well. We played a great defensive game. Still didn't shoot the ball extremely well, but played a great defensive game, and then came back and worked real hard this past week.
Okay, Coach, we got 14 minutes to talk, so we got talk about the Shelton State. Shelton State ranked number 2 in the country, finished 3rd in the country last year.
Right.
In the first half we go in up 34-26, and obviously from what it looks like on the score sheet, only scored 6 points in the third
quarter. Just killed us. Came back out of the half, didn't anything done, and we struggled to have that lead in the first half, but we just couldn't get anything done. We couldn't shoot the ball in, and Shelton got us, and they got a very good team. They got a really nice player that was ranked number 1 in the country in JUCO ball, and that night we definitely made her. We helped her look like the number 1 JUCO player.
Was that Johnson that scored 36?
Sierra Johnson, we didn't have an answer for her. And then we just didn't have the right mentality. We didn't respond well emotionally and physically, and, we took a loss.
And in there, and you talk about shooting, when Bennett goes 0 for 11 and Jeter's 2 for 10,
right.
And, that break in there, because every player should run and shoot and do things when they go home.
Yep.
But we, as human nature, we want to eat and enjoy, and some do and some don't. But now, the next night we played South Georgia Tech, ranked number 7 in the country, and defeated them 61-41.
Right.
So they bounced back in a 24-hour period and beat a nationally ranked team.
Oh, absolutely. Very, very good team on their home floor, and held them to 41 points. Our defensive effort was excellent. Again, like I said, we didn't shoot the ball well, but we still won by 20, not shooting well. So, any night that we're shooting well, we can compete with anybody in the country, and we would be tough to beat. But when you live and die by the outside shot, then you're going to have those occasions where you die. And fortunately for us, it was a game before Panhandle play, and maybe it helped us moving into Panhandle play.
And you look at those 2 teams. Shelton State plays a lot like Tallahassee, and in there. And then you played 2 nationally ranked teams. And then Saturday we opened against the number 4 ranked team in the country. At the time was 15-0. and beating and averaging 97
Oh, yeah.
points a game, turning folks over 30 plus times a game. And, you know, Herman and I several times during that game, because they live and die on turning you over in the backcourt and scoring. A half-court game is not really what they like to play.
Yep.
And the spacing was perfect. The
Right.
players, first they were well coached, and they knew where to go, and the floor spacing was perfect, and we handled that pressure extremely well.
We handled the pressure really well. You know, that was the thing. We worked on it and worked on it and worked on it, but we shot the ball well. And when we shoot well, we're going to compete with most everybody. I would venture to say everybody when we shoot well. When the big three, as we call them, when Dunlap and Bennett and Jeter are on their games, we're pretty tough to beat.
So, and if we look at them, you talk about those. Bennett had 18. Jeter had 26, Dunlap had 15, 11 rebounds, and 7 blocks.
Right.
So, so those three, you know, Jeter came out on fire from the tip,
Right.
and then it took us we trailed by 5 at one time, and then once we took it over, trailed by as much as 24, or led by as much as 24, 25 in the game.
Right.
So, and you're right, they were knocking down shots from everywhere.
Yeah, we did. We hit the perimeter well, but we contained them. I think that was probably the bigger task, was containing Jazz Hill, who's leading the country in scoring, and then Japonica James, who's just a tremendous athlete and pretty much a bully in the post. And I thought that our post defense was excellent. You know, to hold them to 64 points when they're averaging just about 100, that was just a tremendous defensive effort.
So, you know, that was the thing there, because you look at Jazz Hill had 11 for the night, and James had 14. That's a tremendous effort there. So not only did we do an extremely good job of handling pressure, we applied the pressure
We applied
also.
some pressure, absolutely, especially in the paint. And we had 13 blocks between Dominique and Julia had 13 blocks together, and you know, so it just, whenever you can make somebody have to adjust how they shoot, and it's a big factor. And I thought our post presence was a big factor.
You know, and we talked a little bit about it in the post game, and we'll just touch on it. Tallahassee, for the most part, really hadn't been tested or had to play from behind or had to come back and do that. And, you know, did that catch them on their heels? Or?
I just think that, I'm not sure that it was who they played. I just think it was one of those nights where they were struggling to find the energy, and they struggled to hit shots. You know, we know all about it. It just happened to us a week before. So I think we'll see a different Tallahassee moving forward. We're just fortunate that we got a win, and we can look behind us because there's still 11 games to go, and it would be real easy to say we could go 1-11 just as much as we could go win another game or two. So, you know, the job is don't talk too much about the one, don't celebrate too much, and we didn't. We're ready. We're going to come back out today and have 2 real good practices, and then head over to Northwest, and that's going to be quite the task to go into their house.
And when we talk about Northwest Florida, right now ranked 16-0, 1-0 in the Panhandle Conference. They defeated Pensacola. At Pensacola, 78-74. So that tells you Pensacola will also be a team to deal with. They're ranked number 3 in the state coaches poll, right now ranked 5th in the country. And you have to go and play them Wednesday night at their place.
At their place, their house. Bart Walker, a new coach, and they're very well disciplined. They've got great pieces. Their post game is good. They've got shooting guards, got really good outside shooting guards, maybe the best percentage in the conference so far. And then they have a good point guard, so they're very, very solid. It's going to be tough to go in their house and win, but we're certainly going to try to get ready and do that.
Yeah, because everybody's going to try to defend home court and then try to figure out how to get one on the road.
You kind of have to. You have to defend home court to have a chance. And even then, like you say, you're going to have to steal.
You're going to have to get some.
At least 2, and probably 3 or 4 on the road. Especially
this year when only 2 teams will move on from the Panhandle Conference. I mean, that is, you know, you're going to leave potentially a top 10 nationally ranked team home
from the region tournament. Yeah.
And so, so that's the thing there. So Northwest Florida, a tough place to play, you know, but Lady Commodores seem to have a little momentum going, kind of like when it's closing out.
The last 2 games we've played well.
So,
you know, we've shot. We didn't shoot the ball well the first one against South Georgia Tech, but defensively we played well. So, you know, hopefully we're kind of getting excited and we can see the light at the end of the tunnel. It's hard when you start in August and you say, oh, well, we still want to be playing in basically about April.
Wow.
You know, it's just hard to see the end. I think we're beginning to see that the end is near. There's 11 games, and either on February 24th we're going to be making plans to go to Ocala, or on February 24th we're going to pack up uniforms.
And then, you know, we also need to talk a little bit about, you only had 3 returning players. You know, so this is a brand new team that's all having to come together. Last year's team had played together and battled and been there, and they knew what it was like. You know, they knew what it was like to play in the Panhandle Conference. Watch Maria Castro, some highlights from that, just shooting the eyes out of it. But this is a new team. So they're starting to gel a little bit?
I think they're starting, you know, they're just the Gulf Coast way, and we haven't jumped out here early on in August and said this is the Gulf Coast way, and lots of reasons, and the number one being so many new players coming from all over the world. We didn't have one returning player that started that scored double figures. So, you know, to say, oh, we want a three-peat, or we want to get back to Lubbock, or we just want to be one of the top 2. You can say any of those things, and you say you only have one returning starter. That's quite a tall task to talk about those achievements at the highest level with one returning starter. So we're trying to get there. We're trying to just qualify. We're just trying so hard to be one of the top 2 teams, and we're plugging every day, and we seem to be buying in a little bit better here recently, but we'll see. You know, last game won't carry into the next game, and that's hard to undo that too. Sometimes we get emotionally, and people start telling us how good we are, and we're not that good. We had a good night.
And also, you could see conditioning really paying dividends when we played Tallahassee. You could see Tallahassee got a little tired that second half, and Lady Commodores were still plugging right along, but that's conditioning on the coach's part and rotation of those players and those kind of pieces.
We're starting to figure out our rotation a little better. That was when you have so many new players, you're kind of experimenting, and I think we're getting closer to figuring out our rotation. And I agree with you, that rotation helps them to stay fresh.
Stay fresh. And so now we play Wednesday night at Northwest Florida. Saturday night, Pensacola State College comes to town, and we will play them, which played Northwest Florida tight at their
Yeah, it was overtime. They're really quick. They may have the quickest guards in the conference. So, you know, every single game, nobody's like the one before. So, you know, we got to worry about Wednesday. But, yeah, Saturday's game is going to be quite the task, too, even though it's in our own house. They're really, really quick on the perimeter.
Yep, so we need to come out and support Lady Commodores that night, because I had a great crowd.
Yeah, we did.
That was a great crowd there, and that always helps you play better and do things. Chipola goes to Tallahassee.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, Tuesday.
Yeah.
What do you think there?
Well, we're going to see how Tallahassee responds. You know, sometimes losses can be very beneficial, and sometimes losses can put you in the hole. I think that Tallahassee, they're kind of high energy kids, and I think that they'll get ready on their home floor. I think that Chipola hasn't played for 9 days. They've got some things kind of going on with the kid that's stuck in Nigeria, and so we'll see. It's going to be a great game, but to sit here and say we're all going to do this 3 times each, no sense to get too excited right now.
So you got to do that, and Pensacola will be off Wednesday.
Yeah, they get a week to prepare for
They got a week to prepare, so you'll play Wednesday and turn around and play again Saturday.
Yeah.
So, but that's what makes Panhandle Conference play
Absolutely.
really exciting in there.
Absolutely.
So, you know, but a tremendous Panhandle Conference open win for the Lady Commodores.
Absolutely.
But like you said, we got 11 more of those to do, and if you can come to the game, Commodore fans, come and watch it. If you can't, Wednesday night we'll be on the radio, so they'll be able to listen to us on radio. And Saturday night, come to the game, fill the gym. If you can't, you can listen to it on the radio or watch it on GCTV. So,
Absolutely.
So for Coach Rooney Scovel, I'm James Spaxley. Thanks for watching, Commodore fans, and we'll see you next time on the Commodore Sports Network.
This has been Coach's Corner with your host, James Baxley.